No, absolutely, absolutely. And just like you said, the policy, I want you to remember, I'm going to come back to that later, but you're seeing a market right now where what? Oil's pushing down. Now I feel a little smart because I said you should short oil. I think, not short oil, but I think oil was a good short at 100. Went to 130 immediately and slapped me in the face. I didn't short it. I just said I think it's overdone. It went to 130. Now it's below 100 and trending lower. Commodities are pulling back. Again, good thing. And again, the talks in Russia, I think, are kind of hilarious. I mean, use your common sense, right? I mean, Putin's not going to surround the capital and not take it over. They're not going to surround the capital and be like, oh, okay, all right, peace, let's get out of there. No. So, they're going to say that all is peace and, ceasefire, whatever, it looks like these tensions are easing. They're going to take over Ukraine. It's just a matter of what's the uncertainty after that. How far is he going to go? I mean, is that going to lead to, China, Taiwan? Is that going to lead to him, going further and trying to partner with China and create, massive soup? That's, the concerns going forward. But the Ukraine thing and the back and forth where the ease of tensions, look, they're going to take them over. There's nothing you can do about it, right? I mean, all the countries are saying it, talking a big game. They'll provide weapons, they'll do whatever they want, and say and advise them, but they won't fight for them, right? So, and Russia knows that. Russia has the playbook, and those people who are saying Russia's crazy, Putin's crazy, I think is absolutely joke. I mean, the fact that he's able to take them over and he knows that no one can do anything about it. Believe me, the guy is sane. He's crazy, but he's sane. He knows what he's doing. He's very, very smart. I'm not, saying it where I'm like, wow, I'm not being a fan of Putin, but for people to go on and say, oh, there's something wrong, he's crazy or he's lost his mind. No, he didn't lose his mind. He's doing exactly what he wants to. He wants to take over Ukraine. He's doing it. He knows no one can do anything. He knew the sanctions were coming because that's what we do every single time that this guy gets aggressive. He knew that his currency was going to fall by 30 to 50%. He knew there's going to be defaults on the table, which brings the question, is Russia investable? Because a lot of people are saying China wasn't investable. And now you're seeing a lot of these stocks roar back. Is it a trading opportunity? And obviously when you see stocks moving 20% immediately, it's a lot of short covering. And those volume spikes. But what about China, Russia? I mean, you got some questions when, Russia is not investable or it is investable. Let me talk about that because, it could be opportunities. People told me to buy Russia 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. Thank God I didn't listen to them. Very, very smart people. I just, again, they'll say the PE ratio is low, which is the biggest negative ever. If you're buying a stock, don't buy a stock because the PE is low. There has to be a growth factor. The only reason why I'm telling you that is because I got my ass kicked so many times doing that. So telling me Russia's cheap with no growth or catalyst never made sense for me. And now, but is now the time? I don't know. I probably now. I want to look now, to be honest with you. What do you think?
Things can be true and remain true for a long time. You can have a low PE, and that's a good point, but it can have a low PE for a decade and not go anywhere. So, yeah, that's a good investing lesson. I think China is tradable on this. I'm hesitant because one comment or one day doesn't make a trend in a sense. Yet, Xi is going up. President Xi over there in China is soon or relatively soon is doing something with their branches and government to basically reign or continue to be in power for another 5 years, I read. Again, I take all that with a lot of salt. Anyway, it's just like our midterms. You don't do silly things when you're looking to gain public attraction and or support. The comments coming out of China and there's got to be some short squeezes. There's a lot of volatility there, but I do think that's a tradable environment. I would do that. On the Russia thing, last Wednesday, Frank, when I filled in for you because you were down in Miami hanging out and having fun in the sun while we were freezing up here, I posed some open-ended questions and I got some good feedback, and capitalism was winning through. And a couple of the feedback, Frank, that gave, because I just asked, hey, should you be allowed? Because we talked about, or I mentioned some ETFs, the ERUS and the RSX, just quit trading. So if you had money in that, it's just kind of locked up. Who knows what's going to happen with that, when markets are going to reopen, things like that. And from the capitalist standpoint, yes, because those value, we're in such a weird gray area because those assets, we have so many back and forth or things that don't make sense, Frank. Real quick, COVID, you got 30 to 50 some million people in China under lockdown. You had Foxconn quit some manufacturing. Now that's back on already. That took about a day. Mm-hmm. Oil's dropping because you got demand in China, people worried about lockdowns. You also got the positive comments out of the Russia-Ukraine peace talks and things. Yet you still can't even buy Russia. But none of that is disrupted. Those gas companies, Gazprom is still running gas. As of last week through the Wall Street Journal, it was still running gas through Ukraine like normal. Europe isn't cut off yet. Yeah, prices are higher, but nothing has changed there. So on paper, you have these assets that are worthless, and yet outsiders or anybody else can't. So I get that. You still can't really buy Russia. I think that's a where money goes to die right now. I just think that you're going to get labeled as a terrorist probably if you try to, and I'm not joking about that. And B, you really can't. And there's so much unknowns there. That's when political risk is just out of hand. So China, yes. Russia, no, only because it's not an option.
I mean, and with Russia, yeah.
What about you? Sorry, what should you be able to at least try? Like, one of the best feedbacks I got was, hey, I didn't start this war. These corrupt politicians did. I'm looking out for myself. I should be able to do whatever's best. I understand that argument. I'm not saying that's all there is to it, but I understand that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, are you saying from like the point of view that you should feel like ethically?
Yeah, like should you have the option to buy the RSX or the ERUS, even if it goes from 50 to 5? Should you be able to buy it if you wanted to right now? Because you really, well, as of a couple of days ago, you couldn't because of the trade.
Here's a quick story, okay? When it comes to ethics, I get the point, okay, and you want to be ethical. At the end of the day, I think people listen to this podcast to make money. If we're going to be ethical, there's a lot of then you shouldn't be invested in Coca-Cola. You shouldn't be invested in Amazon. You should never be invested in Nike if you really want to be ethical. If you really want to be freaking ethical, right? I mean, come on, let's be honest. I mean, the shit that those companies do. I mean, Coca-Cola with China, the NBA supporting China. I mean, we know what's going on in China, right? I mean, if you're really, really, really ethical. So I want to, put this in perspective because my dad died of cancer and, he was a smoker. Smoker, couldn't quit, and, died of lung cancer. That should never, ever prevent me from recommending Philip Morris or a tobacco company based on ethics if I think my subscribers can make money of it. Is it personal? Yes. Ethical? Yes. I get it. It's like not invested. You shouldn't be invested in any of the vice stocks, which is, any of the gambling stocks, the marijuana stocks. But, you're in this to make money. I'm not saying make money by, screwing some guy that's going to be, completely broke and, can't afford to feed his family or anything. I'm not talking about that. But in terms of ethics, if Russia's a good opportunity and that institutions are going to run in once this war's over, which is going to push this market considerably higher, then you should be buying. I mean, it shouldn't be ethical. It should be based on fundamentals. It's very dangerous right now. They're about to default, which isn't a big deal. I mean, it's a great headline. We know that they're at that point, but it's being pushed like crazy, that headline, to show that, hey, look at the sanctions. They're working. Look what we're doing to Russia, So, that's why we're like, holy shit, they're going to default. Again, when you control energy, you control the world. And they are the largest exporter of energy in the world. Largest exporter. Not largest producer. They're largest producer, largest exporter. And they have a lot of people that would love to buy their oil. And they have really great oil, refined oil, right? It's not like the shit in the tar sands in Canada. They have great oil there, right? So you have a lot of people that will buy it. So, it is an economy that if you want to buy it, buy it. I don't see the catalyst other than they're cheap right now. I would be very, very careful as an individual investor. I see institutions talking about it, but they're going to get in bonds. They're going to get in early. They're going to get in these things where they're going to get warrants. They're going to lower their costs considerably, where all you need is a bounce and they can execute those warrants. And then they're basically, once they get warrants, they're probably going to short the stock and make the money off the warrants of the difference. There's a million things they could do and talk their book. As an individual investor, hey, there's a lot of risk there. And, if you try to do it any time up to this point, you got your ass kicked really, really, really bad. Really bad. And I know great investors who did this. And Cuppy, I know, is in Russia. He's been oil. He's got amazing trades. And he even mentioned on the podcast, and I'm throwing him on the bus because he's a great investor, but he's been in Russia and it's been going low, gotten crushed. But again, he's been calls on $100 oil when it was 40, 50 and amazing calls there. But as an individual investor, I would just be careful with Russia. There's just so many different ideas right now that are trading at significant discounts, good PEs with growth profiles that, just stupid valuations here. And it's a bear market and everything goes down no matter what, but there's a lot of great names here that I thought they were great 10, 15% ago, and they're down even further. So, I'd stay here if you really want to buy cheap stocks with high growth, with less risk. I think you have that opportunity here to make great gains at going into Russia. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's not, there's a ton of risk. There's always risk and rewards everywhere. So not playing is always an option. That's what's good about Wall Street versus a casino. You don't ever have to play. You just sit here and wait. So
absolutely. So I want to move on.
Sit on your ass and think, as Charlie Munger said of Warren Buffett, or sit on his ass and reads a lot. Whatever. Sometimes
doing nothing is the greatest strategy in the world.
That's right.
And I've learned that many times. Instead of being in it or not being in it, being late or trying to buy early and crashing, just the more you know about something and the more patient you are, so what? You miss a 10% move. It's better to have all the information there. It's better to invest like maybe after a quarter than trying to predict, which is a coin flip after, again, it's a 3-month period. Who knows? Maybe, There's accounting practices that are legal, that all these companies can manipulate earnings and get massive contracts in one quarter and spread out through a year and whatever to make the quarters and just make these quarters time and time again. But you never know what happens within a quarter. It could be horrible and delayed orders, which is going to crush the stock, and you could keep your guidance for the year because those orders are coming in and people don't care. So you don't know what's going to happen at 3-month period. I'd rather know, like, after they report earnings, giving me that guidance and getting in, and I don't, so what if I miss 5-7% and I move higher? Or the stock could go lower and they may say something that, you might be like, holy shit, I don't want to buy this because my thesis just from what they said on the conference call is not intact now.